Hi warriors, it's Hanne here and welcome back to another video. Counting calories as an intuitive eater. I know this topic was trending for a while. I don't know if it still is. I don't keep on top of trends that well. But it sounded like an interesting title and it seemed to get a lot of traction when it first came out. So I decided to jump on the bandwagon. Definitely hear me out for the full length of this video because I'm going to be sharing some interesting insights into the trend as I show you what I eat and what I do in a typical week. Whilst you're watching this video, keep an eye out for little cards popping up at the bottom sharing the outfits I'm wearing. Throughout a lot of the video, I'll be wearing some of CUPSHE's new in items, and if you want to get some of your own, I'll be leaving some links in the description as well. Thanks to CUPSHE for sponsoring this video. Let's get to the content. So, counting calories as an intuitive eater. I thought it was an interesting enough topic, and especially having recovered from an eating disorder, I definitely used to know what kind of calories I ate, and nowadays I wouldn't have a clue. I follow my intuition. So yeah, how many calories do I actually eat in a typical day? Obviously, one day is not representative, so it would have to be a few days, maybe a week. I started to develop the idea in my head and became more and more excited about it. That is, until I had to start recording the video, and suddenly the idea wasn't as appealing anymore. I started to back out of it and feel a bit uncomfortable about it. Why? You might ask yourself. Why couldn't I bring myself to count my calories or record this video properly if at the same time I thought it could potentially be useful? Well, on the one hand side, there was a little voice creeping in saying that maybe it wouldn't be that useful. Would it trigger eating disorder behaviors? Would it trigger obsessive food-related thoughts or anything like it did in the past? Probably not. I've long left the eating disorder behind and I don't think that would be an issue again. However, as for my audience, I know that a lot of my audience is still actively in recovery. And whilst these insights could be interesting to them, it could also be a point of comparison and bring about some negative behaviors that really I'd prefer everyone to leave behind. I was going to throw the details of lunch into Chronometer, a calorie counting app. However, I think it's more than just a calorie counting app, and I think it's better because it also tells you if you're lacking in certain nutrients, drinking enough water, etc. However, as soon as I wanted to put it in, it was asking me all these difficult questions like how much I had, etc. And I didn't have a clue. Because I made a whole bunch of rice, wouldn't have the faintest clue how much, eyeballed it. For 5 people, we each had 2 large platefuls, and after that I still had a couple of slices of bread, some unknown quantity of peanut butter and jam, and it just blew my mind because in the past I would have known the exact quantities, probably wouldn't even have had to look up the calories, and now yeah, I don't even have the faintest clue how much of each of the products I use. Obviously for some things it's easier to check if you're just using a can or 1 packet or half of a packet or whatever, but because this is a bed and breakfast, we bulk buy a lot of things. And if you take a certain quantity of rice out of a 10-kilo bag, I don't know. You tell me. It's a tricky thing to eyeball. Anyway, with a title like this, why didn't I end up counting any calories at all for this video? First reason, I couldn't be bothered with all of the maths. It's true. I admit it. During my eating disorder, so much time went into planning my meals, counting the calories, thinking about every single bite that went into my mouth, that nowadays I honestly don't see the point. There's so many better things that I could be and am doing with my life. Like creating content for you all, creating my own eating disorder recovery program, planning for a retreat, deciding what I want to do with my free time, at least as important as what I do with my working time. For so long, calorie counting took up far too big a chunk of my life, and I'm honestly done with it. My weight is stable, I'm happy, and I've long left the eating disorder behind. My body tells me what it wants, how much it wants, so on the whole, coming up with this one number wouldn't really do much for me. And I promise it wouldn't do or mean that much to you either. It would represent a single day in a single person's life at a single point in their journey. That's it. Good morning, warriors. Time for some yoga and a morning coffee. I know that to some extent it could be beneficial. For example, to see that other people are eating 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 or more calories in a day, and that is okay, and that people have different needs at different times. But really, I think you can see that just by looking around. I don't feel the need to stick a specific number on that. Numbers, they aren't for me, not anymore. I'm just doing some work in the lounge, and I just had myself another slice of bread, a glass of kombucha, and then I realised I hadn't tracked it again. And it's just getting a bit frustrating at this point because I'm really good at setting aside time to film my videos, edit my videos, and as soon as it comes down to doing a what I eat in a video, I really need to put my camera in a very obvious spot in order to remember to record, because a lot of the time I'll just be hungry, I'll be setting the table, excited for food, and then realise it's half gone by the time I remember to take my camera out and film. Not ideal, basically. And I don't want to do that, and no one wants to see that. But you know what? That's the reality of it. That's life post-eating disorder. Busy and following all of my passions and all of my hobbies rather than just focusing on food. Secondly, why didn't I end up counting any calories? As I just mentioned, even just focusing on these numbers, bringing them up, I know that during my recovery, if I'd seen people I looked up to doing those things, it would have probably triggered similar obsessions in me too. I would have started counting my own calories, and in fact, that's how my own calorie counting started. My therapist told me that everyone with an eating disorder counts calories, which made me feel less valid not counting calories, so I too started counting calories, and it sort of down spiraled from there. Don't do it. Don't get started. Don't fall into this massive pitfall, whether during your eating disorder or during your recovery, as an excuse to eat enough. If you're not eating enough and you need guidance, work with a professional. In my opinion, if this is available to you, this is a much better and much safer option. The Dutch have a great saying, uitbuiken, after a meal, and that's exactly what I need to do. So, rather than modeling the calories I eat, I prefer to model facing fear foods. I prefer to model intuitive eating for my body, intuitive movement. I prefer to be a role model in living life, not stuck within eating disorder behaviors. Disordered behaviors that I've left behind for so many years. Last one. Maybe. Stopping calorie counting is easier said than done, because what if the eating disorder voice is still very, very strong? Or what if you've been counting calories for months or years? Even if this is the case, you can stop calorie counting, I promise. Calorie counting is a habit, and habits, no matter how strongly ingrained, they can be broken. How, you may ask? Well, by challenging the behaviour every single day and doing it repeatedly. If you know all of the calories in the food items you normally buy, start buying different foods or from a different shop. Or go to a bakery or somewhere where you don't know the calories, where calories might not even be listed. I'm just gonna have this half a cinnamon bun and half a chocolate bun, and I wouldn't have the faintest clue what ingredients are even in here, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but difficult works too. Challenge the behaviours every single day. Challenge your fear foods, challenge the body checking, challenge the calorie counting, and one day it'll feel like an alien thing that you did once upon a time. That's when you'll be free. Step 1, delete the calorie counting apps. You won't be needing them anymore. Step 2, reduce any other barriers and just make it as easy for yourself as possible. So shop at different shops, buy different products, let someone else prepare your food. These are all really good options to let go of that mindset and to let go of that behavior. It's important to make food decisions based on what your body needs and craves. Just what you want to have, and not based on its calories or whether you determine a food to be good or bad. All foods are good, and it's really important to acknowledge that. And yes, at the start of eating disorder recovery after restriction, you may be eating a lot of what previously may have deemed bad foods, high calorie foods. But after a while, after eating loads and loads and loads of chocolate, I promise you that craving will pass and you'll start to crave other foods. Nowadays, I love me a salad, but equally, once in a while, I'll want some chocolate pastry, and I'll honour that too, without guilt, without calorie counting, without the eating disorder present to ruin the experience. And that's the end goal. I love this outfit. I love these shorts. I do like the top as well, but for a small, it seems a little bit big. It's also a bit of a dangerous one. It could definitely do a little button up here, so I might add my own button, to be honest, because it's too cute not to wear, especially in this summery weather. Another reason I decided not to count calories is because it would have gotten quite complicated quite quickly. I eat quite a wide variety of things, and putting everything on the kitchen scales, no, that was a no-go for me. During my eating disorder, the scales and the kitchen scales were massive triggers. I weighed myself every single day and my food at every single meal. It was horrendous. If I couldn't weigh myself, if I couldn't weigh my food, that would definitely be reflected in my mood. And my day would have been, pardon my French, shit. So nowadays I choose to do the things that actually bring me happiness and joy and freedom, rather than the things that I know will ruin my mood. That I know never really served me in the first place. And whilst I doubt weighing my food nowadays would ruin my mood, just because it would literally just be a number and I wouldn't have much to compare it to, I'd rather not. So I don't. In fact, the only reason I've got kitchen scales here is because I'm with my family. And when living on my own, I don't even have them in the house, and I just eyeball everything and get the wrong quantities all the time, but that's the joys and the chaos of life. Rather than count calories, do something else with your time. Hobbies, passions, meeting friends, relaxation, trying out some cute new outfits. So there you have it. I'm not bashing calorie counting per se, and I know that for some people it has been really useful, especially initially in just setting up a healthy eating routine and then maintaining that without further calorie counting. I've definitely seen the flip side of the coin as well, and I don't want to be contributing to that. Particularly the comparison between people. After all, we're all on a different journey. In the final stages of my recovery, I would watch what other people ate and did, how much they exercised, how much time they spent outside, how much sleep they were getting, how much water. I compared every nanosecond of my day with theirs, to the extent that that was possible. And I would push myself into behaviors and routines and habits that really weren't fit for me personally. Everyone's on a different journey, and who knows, maybe some of these behaviors would fit my life now. But if they do, surely there'd be something that were naturally integrated into my life and not just based off of watching videos and trying to become someone else. So if you thought of starting calorie counting, don't. If you already are calorie counting, there's definitely ways that you can try to wean yourself off of this. For example, going to different shops where you don't necessarily know the calories on the different products that you wouldn't normally buy. Or just buying items where calories aren't even listed, either at restaurants, bakeries, wherever else. Third, unless you're baking a really important cake for a really important birthday, getting rid of those kitchen scales. Getting rid of that app as well. Honestly, you don't need it. And lastly, you could also have other people prepare or present food to you. That way you don't have to count calories, but you know you're getting enough and you know you're eating a healthy, balanced meal made by someone else without having to overtly obsess over it. Anyway, there you go. The video with the overtly clickbaity and very mislabeled title. I promise I did it for a reason. I hope you appreciated these random weekly rambles. I hope you enjoyed the outfits, the food, the vibes. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see from me in the next few weeks, months, or whatever, let me know below. Give this a like, subscribe, and see you all very soon for another video.